Olá, boa tarde a todos. For English, I'm going to give this introduction in a little bit. I will speak in Portuguese first. Então, gente, primeiramente, bem-vindos. Agradeço a presença de todos vocês, né, em mais um debate da segunda mostra de cinema árabe feminino, que está acontecendo de 19 de maio a 27 de junho, totalmente online. Toda a programação vocês podem conferir no site www.cinemaarabefeminino.com. A Mostra de Cinema Árabe Feminino é uma realização do Centro Cultural Banco do Brasil e uma produção da Partizane Filmes. Hoje estamos aqui para o debate do filme Mãe daquele não-nascido, dirigido pela Nadine SALIB e com moderação da ALIA AYMAN, que é uma das curadoras da mostra. Vocês que estão aqui neste link em português, vocês ouvirão a voz da Raquel de Souza, nossa tradutora. E se vocês quiserem escutar o áudio original, estará disponível nesse chat do YouTube o link para o áudio original. Eu espero que aproveitem bastante, que gostem e acompanhem toda a programação. So, in English now, thank you very much for attending this Q&A. This is the second Arab Women's Film Festival in Brazil. This is a festival promoted by Centro Cultural Banco do Brasil and produced by Partizane Films. We are here for this Q&A for the film Mother of the Unborn, directed by Nadine Salib and moderated by ALIA AYMAN, one of the festival programmers. If you would like to listen to the Portuguese translation, there is a link to it, a YouTube link to it in the chat. There you will hear a translator doing the simultaneous translation. Thank you once more, and I enjoyed this conversation. Alia, com você.
Thank you, Analu, for the introduction, and thank you, Nadine, for joining us tonight. It's night in Cairo. It's 9 p.m. here. We are both in Cairo. So, Nadine, as you know, I really love your film, but I will, keep it calm on the compliments and get to the questions straight away. Also, to the audience, please share any questions you might have for us. So, my first question is really. I would really like us to start by talking a little bit about how you found Hanan, the protagonist. She's such a beautiful character and person, and I was really curious about how you found her and what inspired you to make the film.
So first of all, thank you, Alia, for this introduction, and thank you everyone for having me here. I'm very happy to be in the festival and part of the program. So yes, Hanan, I've been working in Upper Egypt for a bit before I think of the film, and I've been hearing this name. Well, in Upper Egypt, women are not called by their first names; they have to call them after their sons. So if her son's name is Yusuf, for example, so she's Yusuf. Is mom. So. And I've been hearing this name Ghaib a lot, and is like mom and Ghaib is unpresent, not there. So the name clicked, and it had this melancholy in the tone, and I never asked why I was thinking, why would anyone call her son not present? So one time I just asked, and they told me, oh, that's how they call women who do not have children. And for some reason, I just wanted to make a film called Ghaib. I didn't know what would be the story about. I didn't know anything. I just know I want to make a film called Ghaib. And during that time, I heard lots of stories about women who try to impregnate themselves. And all the stories, they sounded very mythological. Well, in Egypt, they see them as superstitious, but I thought that they have something that's just magical. And studying a little bit into it, I knew that some have roots to the ancient Egyptian practices. So they're not just superstitious. They do have roots, and each story, it has a meaning, and others, they're very metaphorical. So I thought, okay, that would be the film. And in the first writing, I thought that's very anthropological or ethnic. And and I didn't think that that's a bad thing, but I like stories. So I thought, okay, I just have to search I have to search for a woman who just have the problem, who wants to have a child. And I thought, okay, maybe first I need to find a sheikh who does these kind of practices. Maybe he knows a woman who will just help me. And at that time, they told me there's a sheikh present in this place, and he does what's so called the kahruta, which you saw in the film, where the woman has to roll over the earth to just give herself as a how they call this, ALIA, kurban.
It's hard, but maybe like a kurban is like something you offer.
Yeah, to
like
the
an
earth.
offering, like an offering to the gods or the earth or something.
Exactly. So I went to the sheikh and I found Abdu, who's the big man of the graves. He's like the graveyard keeper. And he told me, why are you here? You can get like kidnapped or something. So I told him, I'm doing this film and I'm looking for a woman. He told me, yes, Hanan. So Hanan was going actually to make this practice at that time. And we didn't know each other. And she told me, where are you from? And I was just very honest. I told her I'm doing this research and blah, blah, blah. And she told me, okay, you can come along. So actually, that's the very first film, the very first shot in the film I've ever shot. And I had a small camera and I didn't know exactly what was she going to do. So I didn't really know where to stand or how to like film this. I didn't know anything. And of course, at that time, it was just research. So this was just a research material. And then she told me, what are you looking for? And I told her, okay, I'm looking for a woman who is trying to impregnate herself. And so at that time, Hanan was just my fixer. She wasn't really part of the film. Thank you. So she wasn't really part of the film or anything. And we stayed friends for 2 years or like a year and some months. And she wasn't part of the film at all. She was just a researcher, just like myself, looking for the woman who has a drama in her life or something, someone who has like is going to get divorced or like I was looking for drama. Anyway, I learned a lot in the film. Let's say I learned a lot in the film because at that time I thought, okay, she has to have some sort of like, you know, a protagonist has to have some obstacle. And Hanan, basically all what she wanted in her life was to have a child, but everyone loves her. No one is stigmatizing her. The problem was really internal, like her self-worth only relied on having a child, but no one in her family or her husband loved her very much. And for me, they were the Romeo and Juliet because he was actually there to back her up. And that offered me a perspective. I thought, okay, maybe that's it. I need my protagonist to have some sort of internal problem, and her fight is with nature, not with people. And so Hanan gave me that, and I asked her, and she said, okay, I want to be in the film. So we journeyed a year and a few months doing the film together. Sorry, I spoke a lot.
No, that's great. So you spent like a year or so with her as your researcher and then a year with her filming, right? Sorry, Nadine, you froze for a second.
Alia, you there?
Yes, I'm there. Who froze?
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so when you were searching for someone, did you find other people who had this drama, or and they just didn't want to be in the film, or did you not find anyone and then she became your person?
Yes, I met a lot. I met a lot with actually so much like they had big dramatic events. Like I met two, and they were both married to the same man, and they both do not have children. And well, they were very interesting, of course, but they didn't want to be in the film at all. So,
I mean, has it occurred to them that it might be the man's problem?
Well, it was the man's problem. So it was the man's problem actually, but they just didn't want to be in. Well, and I also thought, well, at that time I wasn't like, well, how do you say that? I wasn't really knowledgeable enough to know. They didn't have any presence. They just had the story, but we didn't click as human beings together. Like whenever I visited them, I was just like, okay, I'm going to, because we just didn't click. But with Hanan, it was different. We clicked from the very first moment. And I didn't have this intelligence back then, you know, like it was my first experience. I didn't have, I'm looking for the word experience. I mean, I wasn't experienced enough to know how to choose my character, you know, like, because back then, you know, like you have this stereotype about thinking about documentaries, you don't think of casting, but it is important to think of your character because this character will stay a long time on screen. And if they do not have their internal world, they don't know how to phrase what they want to say, even if they have something. But I mean, you know, because you don't actually tell them what they say. I mean, with Hanan, I never asked her anything. She just used to speak, and she's very articulate, as you saw. She is very articulate in her own way. And she never even realized that about herself. She didn't know that she spoke philosophy the whole time. She had, you know, all these questions and all these theories she had on her own. So I thought I didn't see all that in the beginning, which is great because I saw it slowly, you know, like we journeyed together, and I thought, okay, that woman is just amazing. I really admired her so much, and I think that's why I had a problem in the editing, because like everything, I thought everything she says is amazing. So I had a problem in the editing.
I mean, the editing is also one of my questions is about the editing. Were you editing as you were filming, or did you just decide to finish the shoot and then edit later? Because the structure of the film is interesting, like especially the part where she gets pregnant. It's like, if this was a fiction film, I don't think the plot would have been so good. So I'm curious if you can talk to us a little bit about the editing process and the structure of the film itself. How did you get to these?
I used to travel, because this Upper Egypt is further than Cairo with like 8 hours by train. And I used to stay there for like 2 weeks in each travel and come back with lots of hours of material. And we used to edit in the middle, in between. So yes, the editing was always in parallel to shooting. About the last scene, I know it's something, it was well, with Hanan, we had many incidents that were a bit not real, like they were magical, like this incident specific, because at that point, before I went on this trip, I was supposed to have done the film. We were done. And then I had a dream about her. I thought, I need to go one more travel. And we didn't have money at that time. This travel was not on the budget. And I talked to my producer. She was amazing, Marge Alders. And my producer, actually, she was also my co-writer. We used to watch the material together, transcribe them, and speak a lot about the story. So I told her, can I go one more time? And then she told me, okay, I will speak with the team and ask if they can all go on lower money because we're done. And she didn't. She said, okay, travel. And she actually came with us this time because she's Dutch, and it wasn't really, you know, like, and she came on this trip. She didn't go to the location itself. And anyway, on my way, I get this phone call from Abdu, and he tells me, and this was the first time he talks to me on the phone. It's the first time he calls me. And he tells me, where are you? I told him, I'm actually on my way. And he said, you know what? Hanan is pregnant. We all cried in the car. It was, this was a film on its own. He said, she's pregnant. I was like, ooh, Hanan? No, what are you saying? I was like, and then we all had this moment of silence, and we asked, okay, we asked this question, what if the one thing you really want happens? I mean, and I was like, I didn't know how to answer this question. And I was afraid to go and see her because, you know, in Egypt, we are a bit superstitious. I thought, if I see her, maybe what if something bad happens? I don't want her to feel I'm, you know, like I'm a bad anything. So I was like, anyway, she calls me and she tells me, if you do not come and visit me, I'll be very upset. So we went there, and it was a festival, as you saw. It was a big party and everyone was so happy, but she wasn't. And that took the film to another level that I didn't think about. And it actually became the premise of the film. And I didn't even know that this would happen. So, yeah.
Speaking of superstitions, I was actually very surprised that they had this big event. And I was like, don't do that. Wait until she gives birth. You know, you're inviting everybody. And then when she was not pregnant anymore, I was like, damn, they celebrated too soon.
Yes, Wallahi, I said the same. I said maybe they should have waited a bit to not celebrate. Yeah.
Okay, we have 2 questions from the audience. Sania, I will read. The relationship. Okay, the relationship you establish with this woman is very responsible and ethical, without losing the possibilities of emotional ties between you and her. We already know how you gained her trust, but I would like to know how the post-production went for you once you had to deal with telling her story, balancing what you wanted to show with how you felt she would feel comfortable with the story.
Okay, well, it's a bit complicated question, but I can give an example. There's a story she said about her first love, and actually this first love is the brother of her husband. And that was complicated because she saw the camera and she saw I'm filming. And after I finished, I asked her, Hanan, are you ready that this story is there on screen? And she said, yes. Even if Arabi saw the film, and she said, actually Arabi saw the film, so her husband, I mean. So I was a bit scared. And then the hijab, you remember the last scene, she took off the hijab, but that was in front of everyone in the party. And I thought maybe that's part of the festivity of it, that she clears off. I never knew till this moment why was it okay to take it off. I don't know. But we made sure she knows everything we're doing. And of course, even my producer, Marge, and Hela Lutfi, on the other hand, everyone was like all the time making sure she knows everything. So yes, of course, after that, she attended one screening and she was there with everyone.
And were there parts in the film that she wanted, were there parts that she wanted to be in the film that weren't because of the editing, or did she just like the film the way it was?
I remember her just one. I mean, I remember I showed her once the film and she couldn't really complete it. She said, "Okay, I'm bored." Like, okay, I told her, "Okay, I don't know how far is this good." She didn't mind, no.
But she was bored. Interesting.
And we're actually still speaking.
Yeah. You are still speaking, huh?
Yes.
Okay, we have another question. After the film was done, did the protagonist get pregnant again? Did she have a child?
No.
Okay, I mean, one of my questions actually has to do with the husband. Did you, was he like immediately convinced that it's fine to make this film, or did you have to convince him? Because I was, yes, he wasn't, huh?
No.
How long? Okay, tell me. tell me more.
At one point, that was not clear in the film because that was a big story. We actually tried to have it in the film, but it was not really clear. Her house fell. There was a heavy rain, and her house fell down, and they had to build another one. And her fight with her sister-in-law, because she doesn't have a child. All what she wanted was the room with the window, and that she told me a long time ago. I just want a room with a window. And while building this house, she used to work a lot to be able to get some money. And this is when she started to have some fever and stuff like that. And she didn't know she was pregnant. Anyway, when we knew that the house fell down, we went over there to her. And she told me, please don't film. So we didn't film. We didn't film at all. And then she asked me, please don't come back. Arabi is not okay with you coming back, so don't come back. Sorry, I mixed up two events. First, she told me, don't come back. Then the heavy rain happened and she called me, I want you with me. And we all went there. And she asked me, please don't film. So we were just with her as a crew. I mean, as friends, not as as friends. And we didn't film anything. And Arabi thought that this was nice. And since then, he started to accept us being there. And he asked us, okay, if you want to complete the film, complete it. But yes, he was, and his brother, one time he wanted to break the camera, and one time he wanted to actually hit me. His brother was not okay. His brother was very bad. So yes, these were the two incidents where we received hard rejections. Don't come back and don't. But alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Okay, so it passed, and I was curious also about your choice to only show the husband at the very end of the film. Was that like a deliberate decision, or was that because he did not want to be in the film and didn't really approve of the film? Like, so do you have like other footage of him, or is this like your only shot?
No, I don't have a lot of footage. At some point, I wanted the film the structure to be them both fighting on this. So it's like a Romeo and Juliet story, because they're so much in love, as you see, but he didn't want that at all. And then this one scene we had, no, we don't have a lot of scenes. He doesn't like to be shot at all. Like when he accepted to proceed with the film, he didn't want to be part of the film. And I thought having him come at the end is, well, it was part of, I thought it was part of the subtext that even if she's so much in love with him, but she's still alone, like she's all the time alone. And that's actually a fact. She's always alone, even with him being a loving husband, but she's alone in this feeling, you know? So I thought I want him to come at the end because, well, part of also in this village, you know, men are always not there. Women are like alone. And I thought, okay, we want this to be part of the story, even if it's not in the very first layer of the film, but it is part of how this village, how it happens in this village, you know, like men are just far away doing their jobs and they're not part of the internal worlds of their women, you know. It's just because it's also not accepted in this community to show your feeling or show your vulnerability. It's not accepted at all.
There's a third question. I think they're asking you if you still have news from the village. I guess that, like, do you still talk to them? Do you still go? Are you still up to date about what's going on there?
Not really. Only Hanan and her husband, but not the village. No, not really, no.
Did anyone else see the film besides Hanan and Arabi?
Abdu saw the film.
And was he also bored?
He told me, I'm the hero, no? I told him, yes, of course, you are.
Nice. Yeah, and also, like, it's funny that you say that there were people who did not want you to be there, because I remember there was a shot with all the women talking in the beginning of the film, and they all seemed to be very relaxed around you. So, like, I was curious how you got them to be so sort of, like, it seemed that they were like unaware that the camera was present. Did you also have to talk to each of them individually about what you were doing and about the film, or was this just because you were around for a long time so that everyone was
comfortable? Because I was around for a long time. I used to go back and forth many times, and I managed not to speak a lot on the phone in between, just to, I'm very bad with phones anyway, and for them to know that, I mean, part of of this is that it's not going to be permanent. And they felt that, and they even told me, you're not going to come back after the film. And I was, well, I didn't go back because problems happened. Some people like called me and they said they want money, stuff like that. It was a bit complicated. But I managed in the beginning. I mean, when we were there, we didn't speak to anyone individually, but we spoke to all of them that we want to make this film. And so they were aware that there was a film being filmed, of course. And they were actually, sometimes they saw the footage, like they want, like, show me. So they used to see the footage with us during the shoot. So.
Oh, interesting. And one thing I also was thinking about was you were like, so you were filming between what, 2012 and 2014?
2012 and 2014, yes. 2011, 2014.
Yeah, so I was intrigued by how you chose to like mention the revolution and the political events that were happening at the time, because like the expectation from so many Egyptian films at the time was to center the revolution, but you neither ignored it nor centered it. And I think you did it in a very smart way, where you just allude to something happening, but not really giving it more space than it occupies in these people's lives. So was this also like something you had to think about, or was it like an organic decision?
It's both. Like, I didn't really, when I went there and they were just had the TV on and it was the revolution back there, and I was like, okay, I just came back from the revolution. And I was, you know, like, I thought it's very important to position that in this very big event and the revolution, there's somewhere on the earth where there's this village with this woman having this kind of problem while all this is happening. So this is how I thought I want to position it. And we were actually reluctant about the scene, but I thought, no, it's very important, because at some point we wanted it to be a film out of time and out of space, you know, like you don't even know it's Upper Egypt, you don't know when are we in the time. And then I thought, no, I just want to say, okay, at this point of time, after all what's happening in the world, there's still this woman who's just fighting to have her baby. So
yeah, it was great. It was like, there's some, it's definitely magical, and I see the mythology there, and it's still very sad, but it's nice, for me at least, it was really nice watching this sort of like mythological aspect in tangent with like the hyper-realism that was happening at the time. So I think the tension between these two events was, I mean, it was great. And I also I wanted to ask you about what would you say was the biggest challenge when you were both making the film, but also it's interesting because you decided to make the film based on a title, right? You just wanted to make a film called Mother of the Unborn, or Ghaib. So how did you get from, what was the most challenging part to get from that inspiration to make this film with that title to making this actual film?
Well, there were lots of challenges. First of all, the time. At that time, Egypt was in you know, like in a turmoil, and I also think the biggest challenge was you know, finding the story, really, because I didn't know what's the story. I really didn't know. I learned the story with the story. And that, you know, in film schools and when we do workshops, we say, don't do this, but this is what happened. So, you know, sustaining this belief that we will make this happen, something that happened, I think, not in the foreground in our brains, because it was all the team, we were all first timers. And we were very, you know, like, we wanted this to happen. And I think I was very lucky to have this team, very lucky, because they didn't get paid a lot, and we were in bad times, so we always didn't know what will happen next. At some point, we had this 30th of June event, and we all decided to go and film, and we went. So we were actually on the 30th of June, we were in Upper Egypt filming, and Cairo was in a big, mess. So we went there and we filmed. And at some point, the editing was very difficult to have the story, like done. And so I think sustaining this balance and belief and working on it was the biggest challenge. Sorry, there are lots of cuts. I'm sorry.
And I think it's my internet that's bad.
Mine too.
Great, Egypt. Sorry, guys. Anna, I lost you after June 30th, but I don't know if it was me or not. But okay. Am I back? And you're back. I think we're both back.
Yes, we're both back. Yes, we're both back.
Okay. There's a question from the audience. I hope the audience got to hear the answer of my question because I didn't. But there's a question. Isn't it possible to take her into an assisted reproduction clinic in Egypt, an NGO or a doctor, free of charge? Can't the film production team make it possible?
So after we finished the film and we screened in Zawiya, I had a phone call from a man, and he said, I love the film very much, and I have a problem myself with not having children, and I want to help her. At first, I thought maybe it's a fraud or a scam or anything, so I thought no. And he said, please just give me her number, and I promise you I will not violate her or anything. So I said, okay. I called her and I asked her. She said, okay. I gave him her number, and he actually helped her with 4 operations. He did this as our production team. We didn't have money for that, to be honest. We didn't have money to help her, but this man did. And we helped her finding a place to stay in, like the production team. We helped her all the logistics of bringing her to Cairo and finding her a place to stay and all that. And he did his part with the operation, and she actually did 4. And actually, I think that the husband also has a problem. Like both of them have a problem, so that's why she can't have a child. But she never tells about the husband. We knew when they did the tests and all that, so we knew that the husband also has a problem. So, but we don't mention that a lot.
I think the husband wouldn't let you also do it.
I think he do not realize that. I think so. Oh. I don't know. I didn't speak to her about that. We thought that this is the information we'll just keep, when you keep some things not said, because it won't change anything anyway.
Okay, I have a question about the funding, as always. Was this an easy film to raise money for, or did you struggle on the funding front? And would you say it was like an attractive film to funders, or was it a struggle?
Weirdly enough, because I'm in a very bad state now. So yes, it is. It was very easy to fund. It was. But I have to mention again, Marge Alders. She was great. She was great. And we had the whole budget basically covered. We all got paid, and so yes, Marge and myself, we had this plan. Like every month we used to sit, like count our expenses, count our what we have and how we can make another trip and how can we manage to give people. Everyone was so ready to get paid less and not get
the money they asked for. Actually, no one asked for a number. That was also a blessing. No one asked for a fixed number. And back then, Egypt and Cairo was kinder in terms of salaries. People did not ask for lots of money, and documentaries. It was back then. It was new for a documentary to have all these funds, because we got funds from many places. And yes, I think it was an attractive film, but many festivals, like for example, Hot Dogs, for example, we had money, but they did not screen the film. So that was weird, because the thing you talked about, it wasn't, they thought there will be more political presence. And I thought it was political, but in a different way. But anyway, so, but again, we had good screen, worked so well. So yeah.
Yeah, and did you screened a lot outside of Egypt and outside of the Arab world, and also you had like a small, I think it was a small theatrical release, right? Like, or am I making this up? But I think you screened both, like in local and regional festivals, but also in the theater at Zawiya and in a lot of international festivals. Did you feel like there was a difference in how the audiences were responding to the work between Egypt and elsewhere, or was it just all the same?
Well, in IDFA, for example, we didn't think we'll get anything, because all the screenings, they were very low in presence. Like me and Marge, we were walking like, you know, like we were like tram. I don't know how you say that. Like, we didn't think we'll get anything, and it was, at first we got the nomination, which we celebrated, because we said okay, it's only a nomination, you know, and we went there and we celebrated. And I want to say something about the weird thing, that it was always that Hanan calls me before we get a prize, for some reason. Every time, like she called us when we were on the red carpet in Abu Dhabi, and she called us when we were waiting to know that we got the prize in IDFA. So that was weird. Anyway, so yes, but no, in returning back to your question, no, there wasn't really. It was in Tunis, people didn't really like it. They didn't. There was this woman who came out of the screening and she said, "Don't do films again." I told her, "Okay, I'm sorry."
So do you know the reason? Do you like did you get like actual critiques, or was this like a taste thing?
I think in Tunisia. Alia, are you there?
Oh, I'm here. You froze. God, sorry guys, Egypt. Yes. Sorry. I'm here. In Tunisia, Eva?
In Tunisia, I guess, because you know, at Carthage, it's a big event. And people, they are in a very festive mode during this event. And I think the film was a bit slow for them, maybe, or a bit sad. I think it was a bit sad. So they just didn't like it, really.
I mean, I just wanted to make sure that nobody raised like, because you know, with documentaries, a lot of the critique often borders on the ethical, and for a film like this, I think you handled the ethical challenges really well, because she comes across as like a very intriguing person. Like, you represented her really beautifully. So that's why I'm asking, why did people in Tunis did not like the film? So, you know, it's good that they don't like it because it's slow, better than, you know, going after it because of other issues.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, we didn't.
But I don't think there are any, to be honest, and it's very rare. I mean, there's always this question of representation, and I think with this film, it's I mean, Hanan comes across as like an otherworldly character. Yani, she's someone is very much magical, I think. Okay, we have another question from the audience. Which I think confirms what I was just saying about how much everybody loves Hanan. The question is, does the film producer think about making the film? I think that's for you, not the producer. About making a part 2 of the film, would that be feasible?
No, no, no. Well, for many reasons. I guess documentaries, they do come with their weight, you know, like you carry the person you are filming for a long time, and you are, you know, you never know what's going to happen. And that feeling is very heavy. You're not knowing what's tomorrow carrying. And if the character comes up, I could not make her sign a letter or anything telling me that under any circumstance she will film, because that's not human, and that's not, I cannot do that, because even if she said no, I will not even fine her or like sue her or anything. I cannot, because they're real people with their problems, you know. Like if someone is making a film about me and I'm feeling bad, I will just tell him, go to eat your shit, I don't want to film today, you know. Like, and they do have big problems in their lives. So I was in this permanent anxiety for the 4 years. Like I had to live with this anxiety. How will this, back then I was younger, so I was lighter, but I cannot do this now at all. It's difficult. And also, I think part of the ethics of documentaries is that, yes, you have to always make sure your character is fine with everything happens. And that sometimes makes it difficult for your story, because you need drama. So you need the vulnerability, and you need the weaknesses, and you need all the things that sometimes it do violate your character. So, well, of course, we do have, you know, like we find a place in between. And again, many stories are beautiful with the vulnerabilities. And I mean, I'm always in love with documentaries. They're always my reference. So, but I mean, doing it for now, and part 2, no, because, well, the story is there. It ended. That's what I wanted to say. But going back there also, I don't think is, well, I want to, at some point when I was filming the little girl, I thought at one point I want to go back to her and see her. I was so much in love with her. Maybe in the future, not now. Maybe in the future.
So does that mean that you're working on a fiction project now, or?
Yes.
You are.
And funding. Just the total opposite this time, Alia. It's just the total opposite.
Why are you tell us about the project. Maybe you'll find the funder in Brazil.
Well, it's full of mythology. Actually, it's kind of mythological, and it happens also in the nowhere, in the no time, in a small village as well. And my protagonist is a child this time, and it starts off with her mother dying, and there's some secret she wants to uncover and stuff. But the film is not really this, but we're finding difficulty in funding, because it's not happening in a place or time where you know where, and we want to use the classical Arabic as a language. Although the story is very, it's not a difficult story. It's like a bedtime story. Like basically, she's a girl who has a prophecy and stuff. For some reason, I'm not able to pitch it right now. I'm not able really to tell the story. But we're finding lots of difficulties funding that one. We took a couple of funds, but yeah, so the second film is really not easier. It's really not easier. And I've been writing it for so long also. Like it took me 3 years to finalize it. And only this year I have a draft, which I think is the one I hope to really do.
Yeah, well, good luck. Maybe, you know, maybe it will happen from Brazil somehow. At least we tried.
Let's hope so. Please, funders, trust me. I do films. I make them. I finish them.
And he gets a lot of awards too. But yes, okay. So thank you so much, Nadine. I think this has been a great conversation, and the film is playing for 2 more days, I think, until the 8th. So yes, I encourage everybody to see this film, and thank you for screening it with us. Wait, there are questions. Sorry, 1 second. Yes, I'm waiting for them. Did you feel like you were breaking any privacy boundaries? And if you did, how did you handle it?
No, as I mentioned, the two incidents where she spoke about her old lover and and the hijab. So yes, these were the only incidents where we thought that they're boundering on something, but we got through this. Yeah.
Okay. And did you ever feel that your presence with a camera affected the relationships you were filming? And if yes, how did you manage that presence?
Well, yes, in the beginning I was doing the filming myself and I wasn't really comfortable because, you know, you have to maintain this eye contact and the present and, you know, so, and this is where Sarah came, the director of photography, and she was also a great blessing because she had this magic. She held the camera and she knew where to stand, where's the good light. She was always very quick and she was very invisible. And that's how she was able to, you know, capture all these moments happening. And we always had these long conversations about the position and the camera movement and all that. We used to watch the whole footage together and create notes and stuff. So yes, I wasn't comfortable doing the filming myself. It wasn't possible. Yeah, and yeah.
I guess I want to ask one last question about that. How big was the crew? And did you? I think it must have been small, right?
It was very small. We were four. Myself and Sarah and Abir, who was also a blessing, and Mona, my best friend, and also she was helping us with the sound work. And she wasn't a sound recordist at that time. She had to teach herself, and like we get all these small equipments because it was very difficult to, you know, hang on any neck mics or stuff like that. People were not comfortable, so we had to create some sort of equipment that makes the zoom. We only had one zoom to be closer to the characters and not to hang on lots of equipment or have the boom, because also the boom is very difficult to handle. So, and Abir, she was from Upper Egypt, so she used to host us at her place. Her mom and dad were always there to take care of us. So we had like a small home, you know, like we didn't feel we're at work or anything because they were very warm. And so it was a nice time. Actually, the shooting was nice. We didn't feel strangers in the place.
Yeah, I think it shows there's a lot of intimacy in the film, and it comes across, I think, to all of us as viewers.
Thank you.
Okay, these were the last two questions. I think we should end here. Thank you, Nadine. And because it's already like 10 p.m. in Cairo, I think we both need to sleep. Yeah. And someone is, this is like the perfect comment to end with. Someone is saying, Nadine, thank you. You are an inspiration. I couldn't agree more.
Thank you so much. Really, that's beautiful to hear. Actually, thank you so much. I'm very happy, and it's my pleasure to hear that. Really, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Eu que agradeço muitíssimo.
I am the one who's thanking you. It was wonderful to listen, to hear more about this film. And for those who haven't watched it, it's going to be available. As Alia has stated, we have 2 more days to watch it in our site. And this is it. This film is amongst the SERPENTE constellation, and please follow our program in our Instagram and in our website. Next Sunday, we are going to have a round table called a Family's Matter, and I'm going to share more details with you later. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you, ALIA. And I'll see you next time.